All right, hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of Hosts&Co. As you probably already know, I'm Kraos, and this is Finley.
Hi.
Okay, so episode 2, take 2. Uh,
First up on the agenda is progress.
yes, progress. Right, we'll start with my progress then. So, over the past 2 weeks, not much has happened, to be honest. It was a little bit of a possession thing, where people have been noticing that Destiny seems to act differently. Well, I seem to act differently when Destiny's possessing me, if that makes sense. It should do.
His body language changes.
Yes, very much so, apparently. Not that I've noticed, but, you know. And secondly, is that Faith did her second possession attempt and kicked a load of ass at board games and stuff, which was interesting. You can read all about that over on my Tumblr if you want more information. I think that's about it. What about you, Finn?
As far as us, we've been working on possession, and he can move most of the foot now. Like, before he could only move both arms, now he's working up, going to the legs. And other than that, nothing really has happened. We just kind of been taking it slow, working through possession before we do anything else.
Hmm. Fair enough. It's good to take these times. Yeah, it's good to take time on these things.
Yeah. And, like, we're not really in, like, a big hurry to do anything special either. Like, mainly we're doing possession so he can play video games and actually interact with people.
Mm-hmm.
So, exciting.
Fun.
Okay, next up. Okay. We noticed a lot of you actually applied to be guests on the show, which is great, except we couldn't figure out a way to make it fair to choose one of you other than throwing all of your names in a hat and picking one. And the person that we pick will have a slight interview. And if we like you, you'll be on the show.
Yeah.
And we also ask that to be patient because there were actually a lot of you, way more than we ever expected. So just kind of, as long as the show is going, we'll keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Right. Okay, so I think that brings us over to the main topic of today's episode, which is Wonderlands and Servitors.
Yay!
Yay! Right, so, do you want to start us off, or shall I?
You can.
Oh, thanks. Okay, right, so, Wonderlands. I wish I had a description up of what they were, because I can't think freely.
Well, basically, they're in the mind space,
Mm-hmm.
and they are a place where you can interact with your tulpa, and they can interact with you. And a lot of times they go there to be on their own, or they have their own special place, or you can do all kinds of cool adventures. Like Nick and I have a big city where he fights zombies, and I surf, and it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody, you don't need to have one necessarily. Like, I don't, it's not,
Yeah, I haven't heard. I I've heard that you don't need one. I've always had Wonderlands since like 5 years before I had even heard of tulpas. So I don't know. They've always kind of been part of my life. So I don't know life without them. I've just said the same thing about 3 times, but you know.
We made one personally because there's nothing else really to do without one. Like, as much as I love Nick, I could not just sit there and talk to him flat out all day without something to do. Like, when you're bored, you need something to do with them instead of just sitting there talking, because Nick goes through everything that I do throughout the day. He's in school, he's with my friends, so he knows pretty much the same thing that I do about everything that happens throughout the day, unless he's sleeping. So it's kind of hard to not have one for us.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Interactions are limited in the real world, so, you know.
Mm-hmm.
you've obviously got to go and you've obviously got to have a Wonderland in order to have that level of interaction with your toddler.
Until they invent like something we can transfer them to like the body or something.
Yes.
Which I don't know about you guys, but I'd be kind of worried about.
Something crazy like possession.
Well, I mean, outside of the host, but yeah.
Yeah. All right then. So, well, you gave a brief rundown of yours. Do you want to go into a bit more detail, or shall I give a brief rundown of mine and then?
Well, basically, we have 5 main parts to our Wonderland. We have the Winter Wonderland area where you are basically ass deep in snow all the time. We have a cave that leads through the Wonderland, and it splits where you go to like a mountain valley type like thing, and then the city. And after you're in the valley, you can take like a boat down the river of scary shit that will probably try to eat you. And then that you go to, it's like a castle like thing on the shore. And other than that, we have like a few places where like we just throw all the junk that we don't need or like stuff and random things. Like we have a tree house somewhere that's out in the middle of nowhere. Like a random forest where we kill a bunch of people with a tavern. Stuff like that. Like it's not really like a main portion like the rest of everything else.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Okay then. Right. So yeah, I have 2 Wonderlands actually. The first one, the main one, or I like to think of it as the main one, even though I probably use the other one more, is kind of like a flat. It's kind of like, well, we call it a flat, but it's actually basically a city that we haven't actually explored. We've maybe explored the street, but it's like a city, like a massive modern city surrounded by mountains, which is pretty cool. But we mainly stick to our flat, which is just like a simple 2-bedroom apartment type thing. And that's basically where we, live, I guess. And the second Wonderland it's absolutely massive. It's taken a very long time to work on, and I'm still working on certain areas. But it's this kind of medieval type fantasy place, which it's separated into 5 places. You've got the middle kind of country, I guess, which is like a neutral zone. There's a massive mountain in the middle, kind of like the Lonely Mountain from The Hobbit. And it's got a massive city built around it, steampunk. And then on either side of that country, there's different, slightly smaller countries, which are separated like the 4 elements. So down the bottom in the south, you've got the Fire Nation, I guess. I call it the Fire Kingdom because I don't want to be too Avatar-y. Then towards the east, there's the Wind. North, there's the Water. And to the west, there's the Forest. We've separated it so that the 4 of us are like kings or queens of each country. So, for instance, I'm king of the Fire Kingdom, Isaac is king of the Wind, Destiny is the Water, and Faith is the Forest. It's pretty cool. Back when we first created it, we had this massive war between us, just as something to do. But then the real world got in the way, so.
It had to stop.
Yeah.
It's okay. Servitors. Moving on.
Please move on. That was a horrible ramble.
We only have 1 quotations real servitor, and his name is Boss. And he is like a 7-foot 230-pound guy with like a square jaw that just runs around and takes care of everything. Like, if you need something beat up, sure, he'll do it. Or like categorize his book in the library, sure, he'll do it. And he just kind of runs around wherever we are normally. Like in the city, we have a penthouse where he takes care of things, and then like the castle and stuff like that. The only real place that he doesn't really go to is like the cave. And then I don't know how many of you read our blog, but we have dragons. Although we don't consider them servitors, we consider them more advanced thought forms. Like, they're not as advanced as a servitor should be, but they're definitely not Chulpa.
You mean they're more advanced than a servitor should be? So.
Kind of, sort of. Like, they're not... Servitors kind of do their own thing when you're not there, where the dragons they do their own thing, but not as much as a servitor. I think it's more because they're animal-based. They kind of act more like animals would, I guess, than humans. Like, they're nesting right now, and I don't really know what they do in their free time when they're not with us.
I think I see what you mean.
Yeah. They're wild, pretty much, like, when they're not with us. Like, and we don't mean wild by, like, they're killing people or something. They do their own thing. Like, they hunt on their own, and they hang with each other on their own and explore. I think they've probably explored more of the Wonderland than we have. Because, like, personally, to a lot of our Wonderland, it's kind of dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So they go places we don't.
Yeah. I personally don't have any servitors that I can think of offhand. I really don't. Most people are just like what I'd classify as NPCs. Just kind of like mindless, wandering, like animals. They just kind of do their own thing, but it's not like we're telling them anything. They're not tulpas, obviously, because, you know, I don't know how to describe it.
They're just background characters.
Yeah, exactly.
I also feel like we lacked to mention when we first started talking about this, but servitors are basically, they're not tulpas because they're not necessarily smart enough, but they're not as advanced as a tulpa. They're kind of more there to help you and to keep your stuff organized, or to be there to help you in your tulpa, or whatever you really make them to do. Like, I know people that have robots that make them categorize things, and like, we know a system that has one in the library. We know they can do all kinds of things, pretty much. Like, they're more advanced than NPC. They don't just sit there. They actually do things to help you keep things running in the Wonderland.
Yeah. A great example is, I know a few people who have like a heads-up display in their Wonderland kind of imposed. Well, or imposed, should I say. Which is pretty cool. But they've got like a Siri-type person on there who kind of does all the stuff for them. So I think that would be classified as a servitor, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I'm thinking about making one myself, but I just need the time.
Yeah. We needed boss because we have like the kingdom, and like a lot of the times we forget what's going on. So, oh yeah, remember this person has stopped trading with us in the Wonderland, and this region has just stopped everything altogether, and we're like, okay, well, we need something to keep everything running while we're not there. Because we can't be all places at once.
Yeah. Okay, I really need to make a servitor.
We've also set him the task of remembering things, because I tell Nick to remember something, and he can't remember it. So then he tells Boss to remember it. And half the time, nothing gets remembered anyway, but we're trying.
Yeah. Have we depleted our topics already?
No, we have the question segment.
Yeah, we have the question segment, but we've been recording for a quarter of an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll do the questions then and just kind of keep going.
Keep rambling.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so questions, I guess.
First question.
First question.
Name who asked it and what they were asking.
Okay, so the first question is by Zem, I imagine that is pronounced. And they are asking, how would you describe topomancy to someone who has never encountered it before? Okay.
No using answers from anywhere else. Come up with your own. Thanks for that. Putting us on the spot here. It's basically having, I like to think it's a link to your consciousness. Like it's a best friend that it's a part of your own mind, but they're also have the capabilities of becoming their own person.
Mm. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I have been in the unfortunate position of having to have explained this multiple times, and I can never think of a good answer, because nothing really quite justifies it. My parents found out about it.
Oh,
I don't
Lord.
know how they managed to find out about it, but oh god, that was an awkward conversation, as you can imagine. So I basically described it in a massive ramble as like it's like having a separate consciousness, but the phrase separate consciousness kind of has a lot of bad connotations about it because of things like multiple personality disorder and that kind of thing, which aren't necessarily bad, but obviously in society they've got bad connotations. So I had to try and emphasize how that's not true at all, and one of the main questions they asked was, if things went wrong, could you stop it?
I think the main thing to emphasize when that is, if you believe it's going to go wrong, it probably will.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the main thing around this whole thing is it's about belief.
Yes.
I
thought you were going to carry on speaking. That's why I had a bite of pizza.
No. Keep going if you wish. I mean.
Right. Where was I? Ah, yes. Yeah, but my parents were actually pretty cool about it. I think they kind of Googled it because they didn't technically believe me, I guess. But I don't know. They've seemed a lot more awkward about it recently because they were okay with it and they were asking loads of questions when I first explained it to them. But then, like the other week, I went home and visited them, and I just happened to casually bring it up at the dinner table because I thought, they're cool with it. I may as well just mention something. And like, I got a load. They just kind of awkwardly. There was just this really awkward silence, and I'm just like, oh right, okay then. So I have no idea what's gone on there.
It's basically finding out like your grown-up child has their own imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Which I think actually isn't as bad as it seems, because as a little kid you have an imaginary friend to help you deal with problems, like not necessarily problems, but like when you're bored you have an imaginary friend and stuff like that. And I feel like as an adult it should be completely acceptable because we deal with a lot more things than children do.
Mm-hmm.
Like we certainly have a lot more stress and we go through a lot more. So like I feel like it's also a coping mechanism and it's really helpful.
Yes, definitely. I mean, obviously, if you just go onto the various sites that we have, then you can see loads of examples where topas have obviously helped people. They've stopped them from like committing suicide and all sorts of things. So I really don't see why people say it's such a bad thing.
They fear the unknown. Just gonna end it at that.
It's very, very true.
Next questions. Okay, these are a lot of questions. Chaotic Pix 93 gave us 6 questions. I think 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 questions. If you had to take 3 items with you on a deserted island, which would you do? I'm gonna give the punny answer here and just say one of those inflatable boats. A thing that you could filter water with. And I don't know, like a flare or something. Or like something you could fish with.
Probably, yeah. Uh, Probably, yeah, obviously something you can fish with because you can need food. I haven't actually thought about this. Hmm. Probably a book, like a good book. Probably take a copy of War of the Worlds with me because I've read that like 10 times and I'm still not bored of it. Uh, and for my last item, I don't know.
Do our toolbox count as an object?
Somehow I don't think so.
No. So if I had Nick, that would be really handy.
Hmm.
He's really tall. He could reach like the trees or something and get fruit or something. I don't know. Do you prefer Reddit or Tumblr or IRC or .info forums? Personally, IRC. Just because, I mean, there's a lot going on, but you also have more help, and it's nice for Nick to get more exposure to other people.
Yeah, I would probably, yeah, IRC probably, because there's obviously a lot more people who can help you on there. I think other than that, I'd say Tumblr, because that's where I spend most of my days.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? As much as he wants, because he can.
Exactly.
How many roads must a man walk down until you call him a man?
One. The road of life.
Touche. How are agreements and disagreements in your respective systems handled? From the mundane to someone slamming a door. That's actually a really good question.
Yeah.
Personally, we don't have really too many disagreements. Except over, like, stupid things. Like, what can we eat for dinner? Or can we go to the store and do something? Or can we watch so-and-so on Netflix? And we kind of do, like, a rock, paper, scissors thing. Like, if you win, we go to the store. If we don't, we stay home and watch Netflix.
Yeah, if it's just stupid stuff, then we obviously just do the rock, paper, scissors. Because I still find it amazing that Topaz can come up with a different thing. It's one of my little childish pleasures, just watching that happen.
Someone slamming a door thing. We haven't really had any big fights, except for the usual doubt versus the I'm real versus I'm not real and breakdown. Or I remember one time he got set off by something. Also particularly doesn't like my SO, but that's a whole other problem. We try to respect each other in the end about each other's needs and wants when it comes to big things like that.
Yeah, if we have a massive argument, we generally just let it play through. But in the end, we don't stay angry at each other because, we've got to live with each other.
Right.
So, yeah, I think we're both kind of in that mindset. Well, we're all in that mindset. I say both because it's normally me and Destiny who kind of butt heads. The other two just kind of, I don't know.
They're chill.
Yeah, they're chill, basically.
Then again, like, they're normally all chill. Like, they don't want to fight with you as much as you don't want to fight with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you may have different ideas than one another, but I think the important thing is to respect one another. How is your day-to-day lives? Wake up, school, come home, homework, Netflix, sleep, repeat.
Yeah, essentially. Wake up, figure out if I've got college that day, figure out whether I want to go to college that day. If not, I just go back to bed. I'm a lazy ass. I really need to get out of that habit. Otherwise, I just go to college. When I get home, turn my laptop on, just kind of browse Tumblr and kind of watch Supernatural for a while, talk to people, that kind of thing, and then I just go back to bed at like 3 in the morning and repeat.
We don't do much.
No.
Neither of us. We're just kind of...
We're students.
Yeah.
I think that's all there is to say about that. We're just
Yeah.
students.
If you switch, what is your favorite thing to do while switch? What about your Tova? That is, we can't switch, so.
Right. I don't know whether we've switched once or not, because we have done something, and I don't know whether to call it switched, or dissociation, or what, because it is very confusing. But, I would say, well, for, like, possession, I guess, is the next best thing. Uh, Destiny, she kind of just, I don't know, she just kind of does what she feels like, as long as I'm kind of in approval, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, and that was by Graham Cracker, but he has a 4 for the A and Cracker.
Graham Craforacker. Yes. Nailed it. Okay, and the last one, because we are skipping that one.
Yeah, we're skipping the music question. Sorry, because we're not musicians.
Not in the slightest. I did Google, and I still couldn't figure any of it out, so I don't know.
Sorry.
Figure it out yourself, Nigel. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, you.
Right, yeah. I think Skype cut out because I heard you can, and then that was it. Oh well. Anyway.
You can do the last one.
Yeah. I figured that was what you were going to say. And Astro Sensei says, what do you and your toppers do in their free time? Well, you've already heard about me and Finn's free time.
Well, yeah. When we're not doing things in real life, we're in the Wonderland doing something.
Yeah, basically. Otherwise, I'm just listening to music. I do that a lot. Destiny.
I do a lot of homework. I just realized. I do a lot of homework.
I have noticed that, actually.
That's what I do in my free time, is I have no free time because I do homework.
In my free time, I actually spend a lot of time writing.
I read more than I write. Like, I do write, but I read more than I write. Nick actually likes to look up history things in our free time because he is a history buff all the way. Like, he made me look up, what was it? It was something about the French Revolution. I don't even remember what you're talking about, but it was something involving the French Revolution, and he made me look it up and make sure that he was right in his facts.
Yeah. Destiny doesn't do anything. She just kind of chills with me, mainly. Just yells, insults, and that kind of thing. Faith spends a lot of time cooking. Don't ask me what. It's normally gone by the time I get there because Destiny eats it all.
Nick does that too. He cooks occasionally.
Mm-hmm. And Isaac spends a lot of time in the Fantasy Wonderland. I have no idea what he does. I found out what he does one time and I yelled at him for a while. But other than that, I don't know what he does.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, we ride the dragons and stuff like that in Wonderland, and Nick deals with the whole ambassador thing, and oh, we hang out with my SO in our free time too.
Cool.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, we're interesting. Take our word for
it. So interesting.
Okay.
I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, basically. And we are bang on half an hour again.
Woohoo! Also, I'm going to shamelessly plug this again because Nick is telling me to. Saturday night, Super Car, Cards Against Humanity, super fun.
Yeah, thank you for remembering that, Nick. I forgot about that. Alright.
Alright. Fare thee well, everyone. And we will talk to you in a couple of weeks, actually. Calendar.
Yeah. So if today's the 29th, add
The
14 into
6th.
Oh, the 6th.
Oh, wait, no. Sorry. My bad. The 12th. 13th.
Ah, yes, definitely.
Aha. Okay.
Alright, guys, we'll see you then, I guess.
Later.
Sorry about the short episode. Bye.
The voices of Hosts&Co are Finley and Krayos. Finley's blog can be found at amutualmind.tumblr.com, and Krayos' blog can be found at krayostulpa.tumblr.com. Editing by Lindar K. Greenwood. Find them at soundcloud.com/LindarTheBard, or on Twitter at LindarTheBard. Today's advice: force more. No, I mean right now. Go force more.